This is The Difference Makers, a Paladin security podcast. Each week, we take you inside the world of security for a first-hand look at the inner workings of the industry. But it's about more than just protecting property and manning events. It's about going above and beyond to make the world a safer and friendlier place.
Well, hello there, I'm Diego Viramontes, and welcome to another episode of The Difference Makers. This month, we had an illustrious chat with Paladin Security's Director of Operations, Joshua In. Like many others, Josh originally joined security with the goal of getting into policing, but he discovered a world of opportunity and growth within the security industry and at Paladin Security. Among many other topics, in this episode we talk about how to move up the ranks of security, gaining an additional perspective about a security career, and how it can be an incredibly dynamic one. We also talk about how to improve and expand the security industry, and, according to Josh's advice, how willingness to take a risk and gambling on yourself can take you very far. Well, hello, Josh. Thank you for being here. We are thrilled to have you here in The Difference Makers. How are you? First question.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun to kind of be involved in a project like this. I've listened to a couple other podcasts and obviously talked with a couple of the other guests that you've had. So it's honored to be here and definitely looking forward to an enjoyable discussion. But to answer your first question, I'm good. Sun is shining. There's not much snow in Toronto, so can't complain.
That's awesome, and I hope that feedback that our other guest gave you, I hope it was good. I'm kind of nervous. But again, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to finally have a chance to talk to you. So I guess to get things started, let's talk a bit about Joshua In. Where are you from? A bit of your background, and can you talk about what was your first contact with this exciting world of security?
So I started taking police foundations at Central College around 2006 to 2008. Obviously, like many others that joined the security industry, their goal is to get into policing, corrections, and really kind of use their time in the security industry as a bit of a skill, knowledge builder, right? So that was my first contact to the industry as a whole, was roughly around the 2006-2007 mark, where I ended up working at a hospital in the west end of Toronto, and then kind of stuck through there for a lot of years, and kind of worked myself through different sites, different environments, and kind of, fast forward to today, being in my current role as the Director of Operations for Central Ontario.
How did you run into Paladin? Because you have quite a journey there. Why don't you walk us through that security journey that got you to where you are today, Josh? Yeah,
for sure. So when I first started, unfortunately, my first job in the security industry was not with Paladin. Luckily, Paladin was the successful service provider at the hospital that I was working at. And so that allowed me the opportunity to obviously sign on with Paladin, get to kind of learn who they were at the time, how they operated. And really, that was kind of like the eye opener to everything that I've done, since then. So, fast forwarding through working, as a frontline guard, I started on night shift. I think I did night shift for probably about 3-4 years.
Oh, okay. So you started as a security officer.
Yes, I did. I miss my night shifts to this day. I used to work Sunday to Thursday night, 23 to 07. And I would say that was probably the most stress-free time of my life. And then from there, I rose through the ranks in the front line. So from being the overnight to being moved on to the days, then being moved on to a site supervisor, and then that really kind of from there, 2016 was when I had my first opportunity at a leadership role higher than a site supervisor.
Right.
In 2016, I actually had the opportunity to jump into the security coordinator position for a hospital downtown Toronto. And then from there, I got, had the chance to meet a lot more of the Paladin management team. That introduced me to, Jay Lina, who's our director for Southwestern Ontario. And he was probably the main person that talked me into exploring a career with Paladin security and in the security industry. So I guess around that time, I was in the process with policing and obviously, throwing out applications, going through the interview, the screening and all that. And then I think late 2016 is when I had a decision to make whether or not to continue to pursue policing and get into that career, or if I were to stay in the private security industry, jump into the operations center manager for our office in Toronto. So obviously, like you said, I decided on the latter. I decided to stick with Paladin, kind of see where this takes me. And so I jumped from, I think, January 2016. I was in the security coordinator role. By October 2016, I was in the operations center manager role.
Wow. And I want to talk about that decision that you had to take. You were kind of also pursuing a career in law enforcement, which a lot of people do. But a lot of people like you, Josh, decide to stay in the security industry because they realize there's a whole world of growth and opportunity. So I want to talk about that decision. What made you, Josh, stay within this industry? And I was going to ask you, actually, did anyone mentor you along your journey? But I guess you already said that Jason Lina was probably your best mentor throughout your career at Paladin.
Yeah, he was my mentor early on, and he definitely, like I said, he was instrumental in me choosing to stay with Paladin and taking that opportunity as the ops center manager. I would say what caused me to make that decision, I think a lot of it was I was excited to learn, and I was excited to kind of see another side of the security industry. Obviously, everything I've done for the previous 10 years or so was a lot of frontline, managing the sites and doing that. But, when I got into the security coordinator role, that, opened my eyes up to a new set of experiences and it just kind of never ended from there. So it was the excitement of learning something new and gaining an additional perspective.
That's pretty cool. And now talking about learning, Paladin has gained like this national reputation as the leading training organization in the security industry. So I would love to know, what is your take on Paladin's industry leading training, and what are some of the skills or tools or knowledge you've gained throughout your journey that have just boosted or impacted your career?
Yeah, for sure. I think, what we do at Paladin, how we set up our people to kind of, tackle the problems or the issues that they engage with at our customer sites. I think that's definitely above and beyond what the norm is. And being part of that, industry leading training is definitely, something to boast about and something to feel really good about. I think, I'm a firm believer in our training program because, again, like, if we want our people to represent us well, and to do a good job and stay safe in today's world, we need to give them the skills, the tools, the knowledge to be able to do that, right? I think we're far beyond the days of just handing out a uniform and saying go work for us, right? I think the training lets us engage with them, lets us set them up for success.
100%. 100%. And so when you went through your training, because you have a lot of like healthcare security experience, which is a very rigorous, it's a great experience for security professionals that kind of want to grow, either chasing a career in law enforcement or even staying in security. It's great experience to grow. So what are some of the, like through your training, what are some of the skills, tools, knowledge, anything that you keep with you till this day that kind of just helped you get to where you are today as director of operations?
I think the big thing is documentation and communication. I think one of the core fundamentals for security is always documentation, right? You update your memo book, writing your incident reports and being able to articulate, the actions that you did in response to a incident or what have you. I think that's that core skill that never kind of leaves, right? I think, documentation and how to articulate and write and be able to put actions into words, and thoughts into words, like that's invaluable. In addition to that, I said communication and the ability to talk to someone, understand what their problems are, figuring out ways to, within the bounds of what you're able to do, help them through that. The communication, de-escalation skills like that just doesn't apply to a high stress, patient assist incident in the hospital. You apply that throughout your day, in any situation that you encounter.
Right. No, it's amazing. And I mean, and training doesn't end there, right? Like it's kind of like this journey of continuous training, mentorships. Every day you're learning something new. So why do you think proper training and continuous education are so important in a security career?
Well, security in its core is very dynamic. You can't have a standard approach to every situation because when you're dealing with people, there's variables that are unknown. There's factors that you can't account for because you're not all knowing. So you need to be able to have a broad skill set that can be applied and that can be adapted in any situation, right? That can hopefully help resolve any situation, interaction in a positive end, right?
Right. You've been promoted quite a few times, and I think that's part of Paladin's promotion from within philosophy. So I guess we can say that you have developed personally and professionally, and Paladin has been supporting your career to become the leader that you are today. But what would be your advice for people out there looking to join the security industry or even just like grow within the security industry, or maybe someone that's new and they want to kind of just grow like you? What would be your advice to people out there that want to kind of follow your footsteps and just, move up the ranks in security?
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot of the different, positions I've had throughout my time and my career. I think it all boils down to, be willing to take a risk, right? And when, jumping in from the security coordinator role to the ops center manager role, that was a big risk. I had a great opportunity to kind of pursue a career in law enforcement. But I decided to take a risk, kind of see where the private security industry would take me. And then from there, jumping into the client service manager role, completely different skill set than what skill set you needed to be successful in the ops manager role, taking another risk there. But yeah, I think it all boils down to be willing to take a risk, right? And obviously gamble on yourself, right?
Nice. Gamble on yourself. I love that.
Yeah. If you have to gamble, gamble with yourself, because 100%, like you know yourself best. You know what you're able to take on. You know what you're capable of, and that's the only constant, right? So, if you have to gamble, you might as well gamble on yourself.
That's great. Hey, Josh, so I know you're one of the original members of the program development and enhancement team. So tell me a bit about your role in there.
For sure. I think like you asked before, like who were some of my mentors going through the ranks and through Paladin, and a big mentor of mine was Sonny Callan. He's our senior director of program development enhancement, and he was really the main person that, again, got me to take a risk and jump in from the CSM role to the PD&E department as a manager of healthcare programs. Um, so a lot of what we did was, you know, it's really hard for any CSM to be able to deal with the day to day, the engaging with our people and taking care of outstanding issues, concerns from them as well as our customer base. It's a lot for them to manage. So, the PD&E department, we kind of put our heads together and said, you know what, maybe in order to help improve what we're already doing, bring a better service, a better value to our people, our customers. That's kind of why the PD&E department was created. So it really allowed us to go and do these assessments, provide some feedback and some consulting to our existing customer base on what we're currently doing and how we can do that better. Right, and it ties back into that whole thing I said before of the security industry is a dynamic industry, right? You're never going to get the same set of problems and deal with it the same way, right? So it's always trying to stay on top of the new trends, new best practices, and figuring out how we can incorporate that into what we're currently doing.
Josh, I know that you're super passionate about expansion and kind of growing the security industry and exploring new horizons. A little bird told me a funny story that you spent a couple of months living in New Brunswick to help Paladin open its newest branch in Moncton, New Brunswick. So that talks a lot about your initiative and your passion to just be there and help other people within the organization. What was that experience like?
Well, in a nutshell, it was great. It was a great opportunity to kind of learn a new way of doing things without having the safety net that you do in an established branch. So, taking everything I've learned in the last 10 years, and really kind of trying to help start a new safety net up in New Brunswick. It was definitely exciting. Definitely a lot of hard work as well. But, if anybody gave me the chance to turn back time and redo it, I would jump at the opportunity.
That's awesome. While talking about extraordinary things that you've done within the organization, I want to jump into culture and kind of like the way Paladin does things. So the Paladin family, like Paladin likes to call all their employees, has such a unique, strong, and rich culture, and they take pride in that, and they have won so many awards around that. So they have something called the CARE culture, CARE. And I think it's an acronym where CARE are four set of values that I guess all Paladinians kind of embrace, and that's the way they handle everyday interactions, where the C stands for being curious, the A stands for being accountable, the R stands for being respectful, and the E for being exceptional. So it's a very cool concept, and I love it. How do you, Josh, apply these values in your daily work?
Well, I think kind of starting with the C, the curious value, like we talked about earlier, like the learning of new skill set and that kind of stuff, that never ends, right? The training and the continuous learning, we're always striving to do what we're doing currently, meet that expectation, and then obviously exceed, right? So it's being curious on how to do things better, right? Or it's even being curious on that, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know jumping into the director of operations role. So it's being curious and saying, okay, how does this work? How can I, figure this out, to make it work for me? The accountability piece. And I think that's the accountability word itself can be very loaded. I think when a lot of people, hear that word, they take it as, oh, I got to make sure I do what I'm told because I need to be accountable to my boss. But I think it goes beyond that because, being accountable when you're in a, leadership position. Yes, people are accountable to you because you're providing direction. You're giving them tasks for them to complete. But I think on the flip side, you as a leader, you're also accountable to your people, because it's your job to make sure that everybody that reports into you has the knowledge to do their job properly and has the support to see it through. My team is accountable to me. I'm accountable to them to make sure they succeed. And I think, being respectful and exceptional, that really ties in for me into kind of the same bucket, being respectful to the people I engage with. And I think, being exceptional really ties into that, because I think what we do in the security industry as a whole, not just healthcare or healthcare versus general duties. I think security as a whole, what we do is very exceptional. Right? I think the last 2 years of COVID has definitely put a spotlight on the security industry and really kind of helped showcase what we're capable of and how we can go on and support our community during unprecedented times.
Yeah, that's definitely exceptional. Thanks for sharing that, Josh. That was amazing. So what are some of you already mentioned some, but what are some of the things that you love the most about working at Paladin? Like, what inspires you every day? A lot of our previous guests have had like life-changing experiences while working at Paladin and going through their security journey. So has this changed your life in any way?
Yeah, for sure. I think the big reason what keeps me, getting out of bed and keeps me engaged is the people, right? Without having our people doing what they're doing for us day in and day out, and that goes from our P&C team to our frontline and our client service team. Like without them, right? Like everybody's interconnected. And the people are really what kind of drive me to do better and be better, because without their support, my career growth would definitely not have been as illustrious as it has been. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but 100%, like without the success of those around me, helping me, supporting me, definitely would not be in the position I am today.
What is next for Joshua N? What are some of your short or long-term goals in your security career?
Right now, still trying to, get a solid foundation set in my new role as the director of operations. So still kind of learning the ins and outs of that and making sure that we can continue to progress as obviously as a organization, as a company. But I think my next, at least for professional growth, looking at going after a couple certifications. The CHPA has been on my radar for a couple of years now. But with unfortunately competing priorities with, New Brunswick, and being out there for 2 months and the director role, it makes it a little bit hard to balance that out. But yeah, no, 100%. I think it's, again, you can never stop learning and you can never stop figuring out how to do things better.
Well said. Well, Josh, this has been a fantastic chat. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being part of the Difference Makers, because you are a difference maker, Josh. I really, really enjoyed our conversation, and you take care of yourself, Josh.
No, I appreciate the time, Diego. I think it's a lot of fun, and to be able to take some time to have these types of conversations, and really, I guess, shed some light on the different opportunities that are within the security industry. So definitely appreciate you taking the time as well.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with the Difference Makers. If you want to hear more about the ins and outs of the security industry from real professionals, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Also, check out new episodes on the first Tuesday of every month. Till next time.